Well, I have not made a video since January, although I have not quit documenting things. In fact, I write every single day, but I've done so in secret. And I think it's because I keep trying to give up on this, even though I don't feel like it's mine to give up on. I watched a video last night that popped up on my screen, and there was a preacher who was talking about the waiting period. You know, whenever you pray about things and God shows you something and you have this hope for this dream or something that you think is going to come into your life, and just nothing happens. You know, you feel like time just keeps going on and on and on. And so he was talking about all these people in the Bible that waited forever to get the promise. And one of the things that really struck me was he mentioned that Moses was like wandering around in the wilderness because God had told him to do it, to go there for years. And he was waiting. What struck me was his words. He was waiting for God to tell him why he was there. He was waiting for God to show him, like, why am I out here? What's my next thing? What's my purpose? And in that time period, God was instructing him to record everything, document everything. And then later, Moses, of course, ends up being a huge part of the Bible, and everything he documented was turned into like stone templates and stuff. So I think it struck me because it was supposed to. I'm supposed to be documenting everything. Since 2016, I have felt like that's, for some reason, part of what God's asking me to do until he reveals something else. So I think one of the reasons I quit doing the videos back in January was because I honestly just felt silly. I felt like I was taking everything that was coming my way as some sort of sign, and then I'm running in directions. And ultimately, I think it was purposed because the last video I made was called Baywatch and Be Still. And it was because my California guy brought up that I should go to this Baywatch casting call. And I actually prepared to go. I was like, okay, well, any open door, I will walk through and find out if it's, what God wants me to do. So I didn't end up going because, they didn't open a spot for me to even come. But I did maybe 2 weeks later, end up walking through, like, where was I at? Not Malibu. I can't think of what it's called right now. Venice. I was rollerblading. So I'm like going through Venice at the very moment when they have like all these scenes that are being shot there. So I stopped and watched for a few minutes, and I just remember it was almost like a comedy skit. Like, these people that are in Baywatch, some of them aren't in shape. They're all falling, when they're trying to swim, and it looked miserable. And I think maybe it was God showing me, yeah, you would have hated this. This is not your purpose. And the bigger lesson is that what's for you, God will tell you. We get so much advice from other people, friends, family, coworkers, online. We're inundated with messages, people giving their opinions and advice on what you should do with your life, especially if you feel like you're lost, and you're not really sure, where should I live? What job should I do? People are just trying to help, but the only answer that's going to be the right answer isn't going to come from an outside source. It's going to come from God, and it's going to be something inside that you feel aligned with. And I wasn't aligned with any of those things. And I think even after that, I started realizing more so I don't align with that place, like, I don't know. I just never really found my mojo in LA. I didn't make friends. I certainly, didn't feel aligned with my roommate. I felt like the culture was so different than what would align with my soul. And so there was a reason for that. I'm not saying all of LA is bad. I'm certainly not saying that. I think it was orchestrated in my particular experience for me to come into contact with surroundings that triggered me to leave because it wasn't where I was supposed to be. And I think that, at least not in that season. And I think that really resonated with me now as I'm trying to learn lessons that are taking me a really long time to learn. So, haven't done a video since January, and so much has changed. I think it was May 2nd, if I'm correct on this. I had just been told by my roommate that she was going to lease her place out. She needed me to be out by the end of May. So I was praying about it, really seeking God, trying to figure out, what to do if I was going to go find an apartment there or try to transfer somewhere else. And I didn't feel like there were any doors open. And then I received a phone call from my daughter, and she's wanting to move back in together. I went down and saw her in Florida. While I was there, we were talking about her coming to LA, and I had a horrible nightmare. And in my nightmare, we were at LA in the airport. Long story short, it was one of the worst nightmares I've ever had. Some bad people got a hold of her, and some horrible things were happening to my daughter in this dream. And I woke up just like convinced that going to LA was not a good idea. And then, by the way, as soon as I woke up, I heard the words Austin, like in this inner voice. And so we talked about maybe we should move to Austin because my company had just recently opened a base there. So that just kind of happened. And then everything was set in motion from a standpoint of her deciding to move, but I wasn't really sure if I could. And so, if that was the right thing for me. And we both had reserves about it, that maybe it wouldn't work out because we had such a hard time in Florida together. It was a very difficult season for us together. So long story short, I kind of broke down in one of these horrific fits when I was driving to work one day. This was on May 2nd. I was bawling my eyes out while I'm driving to the airport, and I was literally screaming at God. I mean, if you were driving next to me, you would be like, oh my God, this woman needs mental help. I was praying, screaming at God, saying, I need you. I need you to do something now. I can't think about this anymore. I don't know what to do, and I don't want to make a bad decision. So I told God, I need you to hit me over the head. I need you to inundate me with signs today and make it so crystal clear of what your plan for me is, what decision you want me to make. So as soon as I got to the airport, I had this little pop-up on my phone, and it was actually a picture of a building, which looked it up. It was the capital of Texas, which is in Austin. And then I was thinking, when things happen and you're cynical minded, you're like, oh, come on. You try to figure it out, make explanations, So I was like, oh, that wasn't from God. That was probably AI, listening to me talk on my drive in. And it pulled up this picture on my phone. Although I will say it was kind of weird. The picture was from 2018 and it was on my phone. And I have no idea how I got there. I don't remember it ever taking that picture. I certainly didn't go there in 2018. So I don't know. So anyway, that was the first thing that happened. That was as I was pulling into the parking lot at work. And then I take the shuttle over, board the plane. And then people start getting on. And the very first guy that gets on walks up to me in the back. And he says, hey, can you help me? I think I'm in the wrong seat. So I grab my little, they call it it's like a little other cell phone that has all of the data for the flights. And I asked him, what's your last name, sir? And he said, Austin. And I felt like the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I'm like, what? Austin? Okay. And I said, and what's your first name? And he said, Emmanuel. And that really it was hard for me to fight tears. In that moment, I felt like shockwaves were going through my body because Emmanuel means God with us. So God with us is his first name and his last name is Austin. I'm like, okay, this is literally within an hour after I was screaming and praying, begging God to give me signs. So then it wasn't even 24 hours later, I get a text message from a coworker and he's asking me if I'll switch trips with him. And then I said I would. So I got this little friend request in our system and his name popped up. This person sent you a friend request and his name popped up as Austin. That's his first name and his last name. I think the first name was Austyn and the last name was Austin. And I was like, am I unpunked? Is this really this guy's name? So I texted him and I'm like, is your name really Austin? And he says, LOL, yes it is. it's crazy when you ask for something like that, and the question isn't, hey, give me a Ferrari, or, you know, give me $1 million, but it's, God, guide me. And I feel like that's something that's offered to us when we ask. The scriptures say that if anyone needs wisdom, to ask for it. And so I didn't know what to do, and I asked for it, and I immediately was given those signs that I should move to Austin. So fast forward to end of May, we ended up getting approved at a place in Bee Cave, but the problem was we couldn't see the apartment. So I had prayed about it. That was where we got an immediate answer, and we were like, well, that kind of sucks though, because we don't even know if we're going to like it. We've never even been there, so they didn't have anything for us to view until the people moved out. But we went ahead and walked in faith and signed this lease. And so May 23rd, my daughter picked up keys, comes in. She said it was a mess. It worked out though. She gets it all cleaned up and everything. But when I get here, I'm shocked, because right across the street, literally from the entrance to my apartments, is a place called Robinson's Jewelers. And then right next door to that is a place called the Violet Crown Veterinary Clinic. Violet Crown to me symbolizes the mind of Christ, this, being led by the Spirit. That's the chakra, the purple, the violet chakra. But more so, violet also, or purple, symbolizes what was given to me on my 37th birthday, which was a purple stone. I later come to recognize it was a promise ring. And I had received a purple Bible from my daughter that day. And then I also received a letter from my ex-mother-in-law that had a promise in there. And I got a vocal promise as well, which was super odd. But my ex-husband at the time, who was, I know, very close to the Spirit, because he was in the valley between life and death, he said, congratulations, you're going to get the husband you always wanted. So, these things in the past, they happen to us and we kind of forget about them. But then years later, I think it was 2024, my son started telling me that every time he sees the number 37, he feels this strange feeling like God's talking to him. And he says, I don't know why, Mom, but it has something to do with you. Every time I see this, I feel like it's a message from God. And I feel like immediately after I think about you, like it has something to do with you, this 37. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Didn't think much of it. I see it every once in a while, and I kind of have a little, shimmer of hope that it means something good. But then I eventually realized that it aligns with the promise. So if you think about like having a promise over your life, God showed you something that was going to happen and it was going to end up really good for you. That was when I received all these things on my 37th birthday. And then my son's, kind of confirming that it means something. And then that eventually, I connected back to the Book of Skyla, which it's still crazy to me. I don't know how to frame this up with my mind. I don't know how to quit thinking about it. I don't like sit around thinking about it all day, but it just pops back up in my head. And oddly, it's when I'm in these moments of like deep despair and like I feel hopeless, that I will be reminded of that Book of Skyla. And the Book of Skyla aligns so much with things that happened in my life. And it seems like it's still maybe shaping into place, because you see, one of the things that I did is, and I keep doing, is I try to force things. It's like when I want something, I feel like I have to fight for it. I have to do my part. And what I'm realizing, especially recently, and I'm going to talk about some of these things in this video, is it's when I quit trying. When I give up. When I finally reach the end of me and I just give up. I quit worrying about it. I quit trying to fix it. I quit trying to find a way to make it happen. I quit trying to figure it out. Because if we're being honest, if there's something that you look at and you realize you have no power to change it, all thoughts of trying to figure it out die. If you have tried everything and you know you can't change it, well, then you're kind of free. Because in that moment, you're no longer searching for solutions. And when I have found myself in that space, when I know I have no power, no strength, no ideas, there's absolutely nothing I can do about a situation. I feel like that's where I surrender to God. That's the space where I'm like, okay, I mean, give me grace, because I don't have any way to solve this, so I surrender to you. And it's also been in those spaces when I've had very divine spiritual experiences and encounters. Back in the hospital room, when I passed out, I got the vision of that man living. And it did happen. And it was physically and scientifically and to all carnal thinking impossible at that moment. Whenever I had my near-death experience, I had everything taken away from me. The ability to talk, the ability to crawl. I couldn't seek help from anybody. It was just me. And I was brought to a place of complete powerlessness. And there I surrendered and prayed, because it was the only thing left to do. So, went down a little rabbit hole there, back into some really just meaningful moments to me. And I feel like I'm ministering to myself as I am talking about that out loud. So, yeah, I moved to Austin. I followed the signs and really thought that, you know what, this is God's plan for me. I'm going to move to Austin. I'm going to get a transfer, because if God tells me to do something, everything's going to fall into place. And then I'm going to start a new season there. And I'm going to completely be, removed from this story, from California man, from all these things. It's just that's going to be in the past. It's going to have to die, and I'm going to start over. And as soon as I get here, I did not get the transfer, but I got a buddy transfer. So that means a monthly transfer. So that means that I had to commute for the first month, and that was difficult because I had to stay in hotel rooms. But not so terrible, but I did see him once. And then the last weekend that I was there, he ended up having to work. And I do remember praying about it, because there was one night when I did have the ability to see him. And he said he might come drive downtown or wherever I was. And I remember praying about it and just, trying to relax into it and say, God, if it's your will for me to see him one more time, make it happen. If it's not, I accept it. And I didn't end up seeing him. And then I actually got my feelings really hurt, because I felt like he didn't make an effort. But the next night after that, and this is probably why the fight had to happen, because my feelings were hurt, we had words over text messages, and he said, you know what, I got to disappear now. So he was basically just telling me, and he did blame it on me, I'm talking to him in a horrible way and this and that, and he's just going to disappear now. So that's it. I haven't talked to him since then. And then I really felt, kind of confirmed inside, okay, this is God's plan for me, and that this is over. That whole chapter of my life is over. That man's being removed from my life. So then a few days after that, the next transfer requests were sent out in emails, and I got denied completely. So that means for the month of July, I am on a monthly transfer into Austin. But on August 2nd, I'm expected to return working to LA. And I have to be honest, that set me in a place of severe confusion. I've really been kind of in prayer, inside wrestling with God, like, why would you put me in this predicament? Why would you have me move to Austin? And I do believe that my prayer was answered, and that was God telling me to come here. But God, why would you move me to Austin and then only allow me to work in my new home for a month, and then I'm going to be forced to go back to LA, to this place that I was thinking I needed to dust my feet off of and, from it, and not have to go there anymore, and not have to pay for hotels. I don't even know how I'm going to afford that. So, I've kind of been stumped since then. Also in the background, I was really excited because we got a 3-bedroom so that my son could come stay here, and have a new chapter. That's God, it's been in my prayers for so many years now, 8 years, I think, since he left. Anyway, so it's a month's gone by. He never came. I tried to orchestrate something by inviting a friend who's a pro basketball player to come stay a couple days with us because my son had showed interest in hanging out with him and talking to him about getting into the overseas league. And that so blew up in my face. The guy did come. My son was acting angry about it. Like, I can't believe you're letting him stay there. And he did not show up. And so it's like in that just, I don't know, like, what the heck? Nothing I do works moment. I let it go. I just accept it. I guess he's not going to come. I guess we got a 3-bedroom for no reason. It is what it is. But then, the week after, in fact, it was on July 4th, I was flying back into Austin from Vegas, and I got a text message, and my son said, "Hey, I tried to call you." So I called him as soon as I landed, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? Are you coming to see us or something?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm going to drive out in the morning." So when I quit trying, when I gave up hope and just gave it to God, then I get a surprise phone call, and my son drove up yesterday. He drove up yesterday, spent the day with us yesterday, and he's actually here right now. He's out door dashing right now, and he's staying the night tonight, and he'll be here tomorrow. And I mean, yesterday, I just can't even tell you how much of a blessing that was. Last night, we watched Superman together, all of us as a family, and I just remember laying there, like, kind of pinching myself, like, this is surreal. We're all under one roof. I have literally prayed for this for like 8 years. I made prayer candles and passed them out all over this world, asking others to help me pray for my son. And he's here, and he's alive, and everything is, I don't know what's going to happen with it, but it's looking up. So, okay, so what else is going on? I made some notes. I'm trying to not write and then read because I really want this season to be more authentic. I'm calling it a season like somebody's watching it. These are all hidden. So let's see. Oh, yeah, this happened. So last week, I also got emails from my mom because she's trying to find the missing deed to my papa's land. They have it up for sale. It was supposed to close a few days ago, and the closing company is having issues because no one can find the deed. So she sends me an email asking me to forward it to somebody I know that in real estate, and the title of it was Loch Lomond. So that was kind of embedded in my head, Loch Lomond. That was the street name. And then the next day, I was watching a video. This woman popped up on my YouTube thing, and her name was Violet something 11, Violet Angel, I don't know, 1111. And I watched it, and she was talking about being in Scotland, which always intrigues me because a lot of this stuff with this prophecy or whatever it is seems to be tied to Scotland. So I click on the link to look at her website, and she's got a retreat coming up and it's just called Loch Lomond Retreat. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. So I have a few different like alignment signs towards her. I end up messaging her, and she does a reading for me. I like her. She prays. There's something about her that seems so childlike and innocent and pure. Anyway, she does this reading. I'm listening to it. I think this was on July 4th. No, it was on July 3rd while I was on the plane, and I'm just bawling, crying. But anyway, I made some notes. I'm going to go over a few things she said. She said that I am on a twin flame journey, whatever that truly means. She said there was someone, right away, she said there's someone who is feeling like they treated me recklessly. And then she went deeper into, these are just some hot points, but she said that he had treated me recklessly, the relationship recklessly. He was keeping a lot of secrets. She said there is a third-party situation. So there's another woman. Yeah. And then she said that I hate to even say this part. She said and she even said this, she goes, I know you don't want to hear this, but this person really loves you, and they never expressed this to you, and they're really thinking a lot about what they did to you. So she said he was feeling bad about it, kind of in a hermit mode, thinking a lot. And she also said that he's very stressed out about talking to me again because he knows that he can't come in casually with conversation. He's going to have to admit some things to me, come with a different approach. It's going to have to be willing to talk about something. So then she also said, let's see. Oh, she said that there will be some sort of love offer if I'm willing to open my heart up to it. I don't know. It's really kept me stirring. I'm not going to lie. There was so much pain I felt because I feel like infidelity, even if you're not married or whatever, I feel like if someone is cheating, if someone's with another person, that breaks the bond. And that could also explain why I have felt so troubled inside, like very hurt. And I don't have a physical, logical, I don't know anything, So to feel very hurt, to feel very betrayed, to feel like someone's hiding stuff and you don't have any proof, you get really confused. So, yeah, I've kind of been, chewing on that for several days now and kind of processing it because it does hurt. The other things, and I guess I'll try to read some of these notes here. I went to, this is just a few minutes ago, I went for a walk, and I felt like the Holy Spirit talks to me a lot when I walk, when I get out of my, four walls and my head in my room. And what I was hearing was, and I was, really, again, feeling hurt and just discouraged and kind of hopeless and this dark cloud around me, and I heard, this is the way it would have to be for your prophecy to happen. And what I was shown was that book, when I wrote it, I wanted it to be not only completely 100% his choice. I wanted him to be absolutely certain about me. I didn't want to manipulate. I didn't want to try to persuade. I didn't want to fight for someone to love me. I wanted to feel like I had done nothing to fight for it, that I let it go, that I surrendered it. And this person just couldn't live without me, like took the time and had the experiences to seek out everything that this world has to offer and to realize that I am the only thing that he truly wants and truly needs. That was a part of the book, and the part of the book that I'm talking about the ending, but the part of the book that was important to me too was that she wouldn't even know what was going to happen. Like, he would surprise her, so it's not like a normal book where it's like, yeah, and then he showed up and then he got on bended knee and then blah, blah, blah. No, what happened was in the book of Skyla, she kind of went on this game of Clue. She was lost. She was confused. She was following all of these signs from heaven and these messages from heaven, and she didn't know where she was going. And then at one moment, it kind of clicked that she knew where she was to go, but it wasn't like a lovely place. She had to go through many dark rooms, and it was scary, and she felt alone. And then she saw this light, and that light led her to a place where there was a book, and he wasn't even there. She started reading this book of her next chapter of her life, and then he showed up. And he chimed in, and she realized that he was part of it, that, this was something very divine that had written this story, and that he wanted what she wanted. They wanted the same thing. So whatever that thing is. Okay. So that was one of the messages that I got when I was walking, kind of a, hey, just make sure that you're understanding that this is how it would have to be. You can't fight or chase somebody, and then align with what you really want. Your heart's desire is to not fight or chase somebody. Your heart's desire is to be completely, fully loved and chosen, against all odds, right? And surprised by it. And then the last thing that I saw, well, right before I saw that, I remember hearing the Spirit say, and stop looking for signs. The signs that are meant for you, they're just going to appear and shake you. So you don't need to go out looking for signs. And then a few minutes after that, I walked down the hill, was walking back up, and I saw this guy, and he looked so upset. And he's messing with his car. So it's like a SUV. And I think the car was called a Discovery. It's a like golden car. Well, anyway, I noticed that he had 2 slit tires, and he just looked like he was really having a bad day. So he's, kind of steaming, and he's upset, and he walks off. And I went back and even took like a picture of the Jeep, because I guess I was intrigued by it. And then as I did that, I heard the song by Carrie Underwood. I dug my whatever into his tires. She's basically talking about how she destroyed this guy's car because he cheated on her. So I got really upset because I felt in the Spirit I was being shown something that's going on, like an answer for me that, yeah, he was cheating. He was cheating on me. And then the next thing, when I got, after kind of the heaviness wore off, I felt uplifted by the Spirit in being shown to focus on, what that guy was going through. And I felt like God was telling me, no one hurts a pure heart, a loving woman, and gets away with it. And he was even reminding me that that's why I don't seek revenge. I leave it when you surrender it to God. When you don't seek revenge when someone hurts you, God handles it. And that it's not that he's going to hurt him. It's that he's dealing with him. He's dealing with his heart. He's dealing with his mind. He's dealing with his consciousness right now. And that I'm having a hard time explaining this. Basically, he was showing me that the pain that you feel when you hurt someone who loves you, and you know that they don't deserve it, that is far worse than walking outside and finding that your tires are slashed. And so God was kind of giving me this reassurance that, he's not out having a great time right now. He's not out partying and everything's great. But he is feeling that she was right, that the lady from Scotland was right, that he is feeling the weight of handling me in a reckless way. And then after that, he was reminding me that, hold on, let me pause this. She liked the story, Skyla says, why God brings. Oh, and then after that, God was reminding me that in the book of Skyla, she actually, it was her writing, it was something she did that placed him in a position to where he received like all the things he wanted, his blessings, like his own prayers answered. And God reminded me that when I was in Hawaii several months ago, he was really sick, and I was praying over him. And as I was praying over him, the Holy Spirit told me to pray for him. And as I was praying over him, I started praying for his healing. I didn't know why. I hadn't talked to him. And then I was shown 2 red lines, and I understood that meant the blood of Jesus was being poured out. And so went to bed, and then I think it was maybe 2 days later, I finally talked to him and found out that he had been extremely sick. And then he told me, he goes, the weirdest thing happened to me. I was sitting in the bathroom and the water was running, and I was just like, he didn't say the word praying, but he said, I kept going, please make it stop, please make it stop. And then he got a vision of 2 red lines coming together as one. And I was just floored when he told me that, because I had, I think, the same vision, or at least very similar. And so I knew that when the Holy Spirit told me to pray over him, it was for a reason, and that my prayer was part of his healing. And that wasn't just a healing from a sickness that night. The guy literally got his health back. Like, he looks amazing. He lost over 30 pounds. And so this also aligns with the book of Skyla, because in her story, it was her thing that she was doing, right? Which she had written a book. but it was her story that had promoted this guy to receive everything that he had wanted, he had been wanting for. And in my real life, my thing is I write my prayers and I pray. So my gift from God, and it's sometimes a painful gift. Praying, if you're praying in the Spirit, can be really troubling sometimes. But my gift from God, I think, was a part of his healing and getting everything he wanted, which was his health back. And he looks amazing. He's obviously walking around very confident right now. And then the last thing that God reminded me of is the scripture where it says, who God brings together, no one can separate. And what he said, he added to that and said, not even you. Not you and not him. So I feel like God was just telling me that that's such a big part of trust, is to let go and just understand that if it's in God's plan for something to happen, you have to surrender it to God and allow it to happen. You can't get in your ego mind and, come up with every fight against it. And you also can't force it to happen. So you have to be just in this place where you're just allowing. You're allowing God's script to take place. So, and you're receiving what takes place. So I guess that's all I have right now. Tonight I'm very grateful. My daughter's here. My son's going to be sleeping in the same house with us tonight. If I had some prayers, I would ask. Man, I feel like I need to just quit asking for things. I ask God's will be done. If it's God's will and the best interest for my son and for everybody for him to stay, then I certainly hope he does. And I hope he finds a good job, and I hope it's a beautiful new season for him. But if it's not the right time pertaining to God's will, then I pray the best for him in whatever God's design is for him right now. I pray that we have a joyful night tonight. I pray that we have a beautiful day in the morning. I also have a meeting with Majestic at 10 a.m. My contract's over with them as of the end of last month. And so we're going to talk about the potential of me continuing to do some work for them at some level or scale. And, I give that to God too. If that is God's will, then I pray that meeting turns into something beautiful. And something that will help me, especially as I have to go back to LA next month, help me, pay all of my bills and not have to struggle. So, and then we're also talking about going to Natural Bridge Caverns or some sort of caverns hiking tomorrow. And so if that's God's will, I hope we have a beautiful time and make wonderful memories as for me with my kids tomorrow. And I just pray for peace. I also pray for the strength for me to continue to make these videos if that's what God wants me to do. I feel like I'm really struggling with anxiety because I haven't been doing it. And then as soon as I kind of surrender and say, okay, I don't know why I'm being asked to do this, but I do feel like I'm being asked to do it. And I know God has a reason for it. So I pray for the strength and, the focus to whatever's going on in my life, no matter if I'm struggling with money or having other difficulties, that I would stay on course here and continue to create these little updates here. All right, that's all I got. This is, I think it's had like 5 names so far. This project is now called Silent Surrender.